welcome to the Professional Plumber podcast. My name is Willem Klopper, I'm your host, and I'm joined in studio today by Mr. Anton of the School of Leadership and Mr. Duncan Keil of the UPP Group. Now in today's episode, we're chatting about the concept of having a growth mindset and the value that that can add to our businesses as well as to our personal lives. Now, gentlemen, thanks a stack for joining me, and a warm welcome to the two of you as well.
Welcome.
Thank you so much.
So just before we get into the conversation about what a growth mindset is and how that can actually contribute to our personal lives and our businesses, just a quick introduction of yourself to the audience, please, and to the listeners in the video and the viewers out there. Duncan, if we can start with you.
Welcome, everyone. Duncan from UPP Group. I am the visionary there. We're all about empowerment. We're all about growth. And we have a sustainable water solution for the future and powering 100,000 people and 50% of them being women. So yeah,
in this industry,
yes. And that's why I'm so passionate about it and what we are doing. So that's us. Thank you.
Anton.
Thanks for letting him go first. You know, age before beauty. And, thank you, Duncan. Right, hello everybody. My name's Anton. I'm the head of the School of Leadership. I'm just a normal teacher. Okay, 30 years experience as a teacher, and I'm running a company called the School of Leadership, which is all about empowering and developing people. So the purpose of the School of Leadership is to help young people and other people discover who they are and who they can be, so that they could be the best version of themselves to make the maximum impact in the world around them. And it's a privilege to be sitting here with you, gentlemen. Thank you.
With the two of you, and I think I've got the perfect candidates to have this conversation with. But so just before, and then this is my normal routine, just before we go into the juicy details of the conversation, of the subject of the day, let's just have a look at some ad breaks. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Professional Plumber podcast. Now we are continuing our conversation about the concept of having a growth mindset and the value that that can add to our businesses as well as our personal lives. And again, I have with me in studio Mr. Anton of the School of Leadership and Mr. Duncan Keil of the UPP Group. All right, so Duncan, when we say growth mindset, the phrase growth mindset, there are two words in that. Now, when I think of growth, I think of, growing, whether that be growing taller, whether that be growing heavier, or whether that means more, heavier, or even moving forward, developing. That's what I think of when I hear the word growth, and when I think of the word growth. And when I think of the word mindset, what I think of is that's the way that people think of things. That's the way that they reason about certain things in life. And that's the perspective that they have of certain things. How would you define a growth mindset?
Very interesting question, Willem. I think there's two mindsets that we need to look at. And the first one is the growth mindset. And Anton, I think we had a chat before, said it's about change. And so if your mind is changing and you're changing for the better, for me, that's a growth mindset. Whereas you get the which is not, it's just called a fixed mindset.
The opposite of
a growth mindset. And a fixed mindset is that you can't learn, you can't do these things. You've got this, you're fixed on something that is not moving. And I think a lot of us, in terms of, our upbringing, our culture and all of that, very quick go to a fixed mindset. And we need to train our minds to become a growth mindset. It's like nothing grows if you don't, you don't water it or give it some energy or something like that. So I think for me, very simple, growth mindset as opposed to fixed mindset. That's my interpretation.
Yeah, I think if you think about it as well, the default human behavior is to be lazy, if I can put it that way. The default human behavior is to procrastinate and to postpone and to do things later. So everything in life is going to change. It's a human condition. And the change is either positive or negative. Nothing stays stagnant.
Exactly.
So if you're going to have a growth mindset, it literally refers to the positive change, as you just said.
Yeah.
But the fixed mindset doesn't mean I stay where I am. It actually means regression. It actually means that I am getting worse. So, and that is the default. So if we look at the human condition, if we really want to become better, then we need to become intentional about it, and that's the growth mindset. In other words, I want to become a better person. Every day I live must be a better day than the day before. But the thing about it is that takes work. That doesn't happen by itself. If I want things to just happen by itself, then I'm actually going to go backwards. So a growth mindset is all about me being intentional about becoming a better person. That's how I see it.
No, you're 100% right. And that intentional is a big word.
Yeah.
Is because you get up every day and you can be intentionally having a fixed mindset.
Yeah.
Because it's a growth mind is that you've got to set your mind to doing a structure, having a solid base, having something that you've prepared. It's about moving towards a vision, and without the vision, there's no growth.
Yes.
You're looking into the distance and you see nothing.
Yes.
And simultaneously believing that you can actually achieve it.
Oh, exactly.
Because whereas a fixed mindset is a type of person that thinks, all right, our attributes and what we can achieve, our abilities, is what is set. That is set. It cannot change. It cannot. So in other words, if we're not good at a specific thing, then we're never going to be good at it, because we cannot learn and we cannot change our attributes and our abilities and our competencies and our knowledge and our skills. We can't change that. So in other words, we're stagnating. We just do one thing. That's a fixed mindset. Whereas the growth mindset, to me, I think it's people who believe that, hey, wait a minute, I'm capable of anything. Anything is achievable. If I learn how to do this, then I can do it. I can, number one, learn how to do this, and I can achieve this or that. And I can progress, I can move forward.
For me, it's almost like that whole thing about retiring. You get some guys, when they're young, they say, I want to retire when I'm 30. Now, I've gone past that age, just. But then I look back and I think to myself, oh my goodness, so what do you actually understand about retiring? So if you want to retire at the age of 30, does that mean you want to go sit on the stoop and do nothing?
Yeah.
Because what happens then is you actually regress.
Exactly.
So I either grow, I either improve my life, or this happens. I nosedive. So I never want to reach a point in my life where I sit and do nothing. I'm telling you now. The moment you stop adding value to other people's lives is the moment you start dying.
And also about environment, in terms of growth environment, you can look at anything, a plant or whatever. You got to look at the soil conditions.
Yes.
You got to look in the environment of the weather.
Yeah.
And then you got to know that the sun and the water needs to have that growth. And if you don't have all of those, the air, the wind, all of those things together come and culminate this growth.
Yes.
And that's what I find in our industry is that we don't have the elements working together. We just fixed, and that's it. I'm a plumber, and that's all I'm ever going to be, a plumber. And without that, we have a saying in our business. It's called belong, believe, become, master up, coach up. And in the belong, if you don't belong to the industry, if you don't belong to a company, you don't belong somewhere, you don't feel that you're going to grow, then you need to believe in the industry, believe in the values of the business, believe in the value, and in where we are going as a country and all of that. And then it's absolutely become in my faith, because faith is there, is what did God design me to be? You know what I'm saying? And that for me is to become the best plumber, the best master plumber, the best man in the industry. Master up, coach up. We've taken our business from a simple one bucky plumber, you know, in the old days, 25 years later, and here I'm sitting at a podcast talking about, with a great man here, talking about coaching and about growth and about industry and all of those things. But does it just come from me? No.
Talking about empowering people and talking about believing and becoming, Anton, you and I in previous conversations that we have, we've spoken about reaching your full potential and believing in the fact that you can reach that full potential.
Yeah, that is growth. You know, you got to understand that life is a journey. You know, so I'm created here as a baby, and I am growing towards becoming somebody. You know, and a lot of us, if we're not intentional about that growth, becoming as good as we could possibly be where we are, then this happens. You know, and one day you die over here and you look back in your life and you feel, but I failed because what have I really done? And it's all about me actually becoming a better person, me having that intentionality of growing. But I mean, how do I grow, Duncan? Well, what do I do to become better? How do I grow positively?
For me, it's about, like you said, intentionality. It's about that becoming, you know, we're all born and we all become babies and we speak this Gugu language and we're messy and we poop everywhere in the plumbing tray. But we're messy. And yet anything in life is that first initial stage is always going to be messy. It's going to be problematic and stuff like that. And I think for us is that set your vision on becoming, you know, better than who you are. And I always believe that, you know, God designed me to be a voice in the industry. And he's told me that 20 years ago, but I never believed in that. I never believed in myself. And he said, you are going to become this person, but you need to listen to me. You need to let me guide you through this journey. And it's not a destination. Anton said it. It's a journey. It's not a destination. Growth mindset is not goal setting and then plateau, goal setting, then plateau. It's just continue growing.
Yes.
That mindset of just, I'm growing. I don't have a pressure about, you know, I just know that I'm going to grow.
Yeah.
And boom, that's it for me.
That's it. And it's about getting out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
You know, because the reality is if you look at that little baby, that baby doesn't, I mean, if we talk about one day I want to retire, I want to lie in bed and be served and whatever else, that's nonsense. If that was my intention in life, then I would have stayed a baby. Because then I could just lie down and I would get a bottle every hour and I could just, you know, I don't even need to walk to the toilet if I don't need to. But the baby doesn't want that.
Yeah.
He wants to develop the ability to do things for himself. So he has to take himself out of his comfort zone.
Yeah.
To be able to become successful. In other words, we got to push ourselves.
Yeah.
Sometimes we have to take the risks.
Yeah.
Sometimes we have to take those difficult steps. We have to expose ourselves to danger for us to grow. You know, it's a very interesting. The other day I read a story about NASA, what they're busy doing with. They was trying to develop the spaceship that's going to go to Mars. And they're trying to develop a sustainable ecosystem inside the spaceship. So they've enclosed an area there, don't know quite where, somewhere in Florida, completely. And they are growing an ecosystem inside there that must now reproduce itself, etc. And then they found the problem that the trees started falling over inside this ecosystem by themselves. And eventually, after a lot of research, they realized the problem is there's no wind. So because there's no wind, the trees don't develop the root system to keep them up. You know, and that is life for me.
Yeah.
So we need the wind in our lives to make us stronger. We need the difficulties.
Yeah.
We need the tough times to make us better people. That's part of growth.
Yeah.
So I cannot put myself in a position where I am in this safe, secure little environment where I'm not exposed to anything because I'm actually weakening myself.
Exactly.
I mean, I heard another very interesting statistic about lockdown. What happens now is the current babies under 2 years old are now suddenly getting hit by all kinds of diseases because they haven't built up their immune systems over the last 2 years because they've been isolated.
Not tough enough for the environment.
That's it. So as humans, as businessmen, we have to expose ourselves to the difficulties in the environment as well. That is how I grow. I will only learn how to overcome tough times if I go through the tough times.
And I think for what Anton is 100% right there. The question is, you know, what I don't have, I can't give away.
Yeah.
And if I haven't gone through those times, those moments that he talks about, those struggles, I haven't learned myself. I have not grown myself. And I think for me, it's about if you want to close now, but it's about being successful. We're all successful, but that's a me thing. I need to be successful in me. I need to growth mind myself. But there's a journey on to significance.
Yeah. Yes.
Significant.
Why do I have to be the best?
Exactly.
Yes.
Significance is about adding value to people.
Yeah.
It's about adding value to others.
100%.
And then from there's another journey that you go on to. It's called unforgettable. Is when you become unforgettable in someone's life, they don't forget you.
Yeah.
And they remember that moment from successful to significant to unforgettable.
Yes.
And that's what we want to be in the industry. That's what we want to do.
Listen, gentlemen, that's we are going to get into a little bit more details of this subject, and it's getting quite heated and interesting now already. But
Are you feeling squashed?
I can tell you that what lies ahead in this conversation is equally interesting. But just before we continue with our conversation, let's just hop into another ad break. We'll be right back. The PIRB Master Plumber Recognition Program has officially arrived. As an essential service to society, there must be constant growth and development within this important and ever-changing industry. Developed by the PIRB, the Master Plumber Recognition Program has launched as a new PIRB designation, allowing industry champions to take the lead. Skilled and experienced plumbers equipped to take the lead, enroll today to start your journey in becoming a recognized PIRB Master Plumber. Welcome back to the Professional Plumber Podcast, and we are still continuing our conversation about the concept of having a growth mindset and how that can have or add value to both our businesses and our personal lives. Now, we got very passionate, gentlemen, just before we hopped into an ad break about how awesome it is to have a growth mindset, and the importance there of not to regress and to fall back in life, because change is inevitable. Anton, we've spoken about that quite a few times in our other podcasts. Change is inevitable. It's going to happen. It's how we look at it, how we embrace it, failing forward, learning from change, learning from mistakes that we've made. That's all part of having a growth mindset. So we can derive from what we've discussed thus far that a growth mindset is obviously better and a more positive thing than having a fixed mindset. Now, Anton, I want to ask you quickly, is that an ingrained thing? If a person has a fixed mindset, do they either have a fixed mindset or a growth mindset? And if they have a fixed mindset, is that something that can change? Can they develop into a growth mindset, adopt a growth mindset, and learn to have a growth mindset?
For me, Willem, it's about your attitude. That's literally what it is. So when I'm talking about growth or fixed mindset, it's about my attitude to life and about the way I want to live. So as I mentioned earlier, I believe that the human default is to do as little as possible. And not necessarily to
we all have better. A little bit of a fixed mindset.
Yes.
Somewhere along the line.
I think so. I think as a normal person, you almost have this tendency to just try to cruise through life. So that's why we try to create all these comfort zones for ourselves the whole time. Because it's comfortable. And that's why I want to be there. Whereas to get out of that comfort zone, that takes work, and that takes that intentionality. So I really believe that every person at some point in your life, you will have either or. So sometimes you will have this fixed mindset where you're really just fed up and you've reached a point where you just want to relax now a bit and just leave me alone. And I just want to work through this thing by myself.
Yeah.
But that is almost the place where I do not grow and I grow backwards. So having that positive growth mindset is something that I have to choose.
It's a decision.
So it doesn't happen by itself. So I have to choose to be the person that's going to become as good as I could be. And that for me is where it moves to.
There's a saying that we have, change happens if you like it or not.
Yeah.
But growth is guided change.
Yes.
And when we mean guided, it's like you're guiding this change, you're guiding it in the right direction. You have a vision, you're looking at a vision, and often it's the vision that's going to take us to where we want to go.
Yes.
And not having a vision is like getting up every day and just And in the plumbing industry, we are so prone to getting up every day and go, okay, what are we doing today? Or, what jobs have we got on? Or, there's no planning. There's no like, hold on, do we have a target? Do we have a quarterly? What's the vision? Where are we trying to go? What do we want to make better? Like, even if I'm doing a quote, like, how can I better my quote? How can I look at the finances, the cutting back, the budgeting, and all of those things that come into a play of being a plumber? And it's that skill that you learn. It's that guided skill.
Yes.
And people like us are here to help people grow. We're here. That's what our life plan is. That's what our purpose is to help guys to understand that, because that understanding is very, very important.
Listen, I want to read off this paper quickly, and I want to just look at a couple of traits of people who have a growth mindset, and then obviously to our viewers and our listeners, a person with a fixed mindset is the opposite of what I'm going to read now. So when it comes to challenges, people with a growth mindset, they embrace challenges. They view challenges as a way to learn more, to stretch their capabilities.
Yeah.
When it comes to obstacles, they persist in the face of setbacks. Right? And they view failure as an opportunity to learn and to try something new. We've spoken about that, right? When it comes to effort, you just spoke about thinking ahead in your business. When it comes to effort, the person with a growth mindset sees effort as a path to proficiency. We just spoke about that now. They believe that they can learn what they don't already know. And they assume that their personalities can change and grow. Yep. I mean, how many of us believe that we are the way that we are? We're never going to change. And when it comes to criticism, they learn from criticism. They see it as constructive, something that they can learn from. And when it comes to the success of others, because we're talking about an industry, this is a whole industry. You're not alone. You're not the only plumber in this industry. And when it comes to the success of others, they find lessons and inspiration in the success of others. Now, obviously, a person with a fixed mindset is the exact opposite of what I've just read now. Now that we know a couple of the traits and what an awesome thing a growth mindset is, this is now the crux of today's episode, is how does that add value? And why is that important to have a growth mindset in business, and especially in this plumbing industry?
So, Willem, and it's amazing what you said there, but there's key elements there. You can see it. It's in the success of others. It's in the pathway. And I'll go back to what my wife always tells me. She says, Duncan, you get the skier and he's skiing through, down the hill, and there's the trees, and what happens is the bad skier will always focus on the trees. Oh, I'm going to get hurt. Whereas the true skier focuses on the path, and they never hit the trees. And it's things like that when we are going down the downhills of life, or it's about how we focus our minds. It's about how we change, the perspective, if you want to call it. And if you think about our journey as an industry, how do we apply that when you get knocked down, when you lose your client, or how do you fight back? My best clients that I have are the ones I've messed up the most. And I'll tell you why, because that relationship was solid in the beginning. I messed up, I went back and I made that client. And you know who my best salesperson is? Is that client. And that's what you want. You want your clients to be talking into the industry about who you are. So if I don't have a growth mindset, because a fixed mindset would have gone, okay, that's it, finished. I'm not going to do this. I've lost it. Where a growth mindset is, I use an opportunity like failure to make it the best thing in your life. Now, for me, that's a growth mindset. That is how you think and play every day. Your thoughts?
No, I fully agree with you. Also, something that you mentioned there is about the success of others. Yeah. In my industry, which is leadership development, you get some guys who go out there with an attitude of it's my clients and this is my area and place, and I don't want other guys close to me. And those guys never become successful in growing their business. You see, what we realized is, for me, I work with schools. There's 2,500 schools in Gauteng alone. Okay? 2,500. In total, there are just over, if we're now talking about campsites for schools, for argument's sake, there's 50 campsites in Gauteng that now needs to service 2,500 schools. So that means you are looking at about 50 schools, if my maths is correct, per campsite. You know, there's not 50 weekends available in a year. Understand? So there's no way that all these leadership development guys can service all the available clients. So actually, we are not competition to each other. We're actually working in the same team. We need to promote each other and build each other up. And the same in the plumbing industry. So as plumbers, you are actually there to help each other, to promote each other, and to build each other. So because if I break, let's say now I'm an opposing plumber, and I break your plumbing company down, I'm actually breaking myself down because I am breaking down the industry. So for me to really promote my own business is by promoting the other guys in my industry who are also licensed plumbers, who also do a good job, that I know, okay, I can back this guy. You know, and sometimes I will give business to another client, or to another company, to an opponent, if I can put it that way, because I know at some point it's going to come back to me. That's how it works. So if I really want to build and grow my business, I need to build the guys around me as well, and I need to build the guys under me. So in my company, I need to raise up leaders who can replace me.
Exactly.
And if I really want to become successful, then I will invest in those guys, help them to establish their own businesses, and then, you know, be a partner instead of an opponent.
Leave a legacy.
Leave a legacy.
Leave a legacy.
Exactly.
Yes.
It's helping those people and empowering those people. They're the next generation, the people working under you now. They're going to have to, like you said, replace that. It's a harsh word to use, but that is true. Eventually, everyone is going to retire at some point. We're going to step out of the industry. We're going to take the skills, competencies, and knowledge with us, right? And if you've adopted a growth mindset and you want to let your industry and your business move forward, somebody's going to have to take your specific company and business over. You don't just want to let it die. And that's the next generation. That's why we invest in the next generation, the people that work under us and for us and together with us, for that matter. And I think it's also part of the growth mindset is like the industry is changing, it's moving forward. Technology is ever evolving, right? So they have to learn about new methods of how plumbers do things. They have to learn about new tools and equipment, new materials that are used. But I think part of growth mindset and the perspective of the industry and the trade is realizing and treasuring the value that plumbers add to society.
Exactly.
To civilization and to society, the impact of what a plumber. And once you realize that as a plumber, you're gonna want to have that moving forward thing.
So Willem, you hit the nail on the head there, and you talked about values. Okay. Now, every business needs to have values. All right. Have vision, have values. But the culture of your business, the culture of the industry is driven by the values. In our UPP group, we have put company and people first. Number one value. Number two, humbly confident. I don't want to be a jerk. I just want to be humbly confident. Number three, growth mindset. Have a growth mindset. Number four, be a problem solver. Solve people's problems. And then fifth is excellence. Everything I do, I want to do excellence. Anton knows his son plays for the Lions. They've got pride, Pride. That's the Lions. It's like their culture. Personal responsibility in delivering excellence. And I think if we can throw that out into the industry, if people can look at us and say, those two guys, you know what, they have a great talk, but what did they power in? What did they do? They empower. They are leaders. They are leading us down the direction, guiding us in the change. Not for themselves. It's for the generation that's coming. It's not about us. That's it. We find the passion in helping others. That's a growth mindset.
Absolutely.
Gentlemen, I want to thank you again for having come into studio with me today, for sharing your the knowledge that you have about this specific, and I do know that it's something that both of you are extremely passionate about, developing, moving forward, helping others to achieve their full potential and empowering others. And to our listeners and our viewers out there, we are drawing to a close of this episode, but do stay tuned for some industry-related announcements that are awaiting for you just after this break.
Good day. How can I help you?
Hi,
I'm here to log in my COCs, but I seem to be having an issue with my computer.
No problem. But did you know that you can log your COCs using an app on your cell phone?
Oh, what app is that?
It's called the app Plumber. Do you have a smartphone with you?
Yes, I do.
Oh well, let me show you how it works.
Not only can you access your PIRB profile on the app Plumber, but you can also earn CPD points while exploring the plumbing industry in the palm of your hand. Download the app from Google Play Store and join thousands of other happy users. There are a few exciting industry events coming up, and we'd like to share a few of those with you. First up is the PIRB and IOPSA's Plumbing Indaba that takes place from the 27th of July to the 30th of July. The Indaba leads into IOPSA's Plumbing Industry Awards evening, which takes place on the 28th of July. And of course, thereafter, the PIRB's Champions for Charity boxing event, of which the action will take place on the 30th of July. Come and see representatives of the plumbing industry put on the gloves to fight for a great cause. Don't miss out on any of these exciting events. If you haven't booked your tickets therefore, then please contact the PIRB and IOPSA to inquire about them. And lastly, we know that you're excellent in working with your hands, but we invite you to try your hand at writing. On the 20th of June, the PIRB launched the first round of its article writing competition, in which entrants stand a chance to win great prizes and stand a chance to earn CPD points by writing an industry-related article. Contact the PIRB today to find out about this exciting competition.